element of danger and fortitude to that Sydney back line. Meantime, for Newcastle, wow, Tara Andrews, hasn't she been on fire so far this season? She's a veteran of this side, and she has scored 3 goals this season already in just 4 appearances. She'll be wanting to add to that today. Remy Simpson, of course, has 4 to her name, 2 braces in each of 2 matches. She's been exceptionally dangerous at the front, returning to Sydney FC after a season with the Western Sydney Wanderers. Rachel Mitchinson is our referee today, and she gets us underway with Newcastle running right to left on your screen, Sydney FC and their white away strip. Now, I'm pleased to be able to welcome with me here in commentary today Georgia Yeomandale, who played 2 seasons here in Newcastle as well as stints at Canberra, Sydney and the Wanderers. Welcome to you.
Yes, Steph, thanks for having me. Excited to be here and excited for this clash today.
Certainly, as Caitlin Ford makes an early foray into the area. Still with Ford, still on for Ford. Oh, and it is palmed away by Claire Coelho, and that shows the intent of this Sydney side. Newcastle are going to have to be on their toes.
Definitely. Great little run there from Caitlin Ford. This is what she's really what makes her really dangerous as a player. She's so good at running with the ball and keeping the ball close to her feet. Running past 4 players there, and then Coelho doing well just to stay big and block the angles.
Corner in from Polias. Kennedy jumping, Simpson leaping. Headed forward by Sophia Huerta. Clutched in by Coelho.
Coelho will be happy to get that one in her hands. Brings a bit of confidence to the goalkeepers, and she's definitely been under pressure already in the first minute.
Undoubtedly what Craig Deans was expecting. It's never easy playing a side like Sydney FC with such a force in attack. And of course, I mentioned that on the bench they've got Veronica Latsko. When she joins the lineup, that gets even worse for the opposition.
Yeah, she's such a quality player, and this Sydney FC side is absolutely star-studded like they are most seasons. So the Jets are going to have to be on their toes defensively and make sure they're defending as a team and as a block to shut down the Sydney FC opportunities.
Cassidy Davis passes, pinched upfield by Teresa Polias. Huerta back to Kennedy now. Brush sends it back to Bledsoe to restart the play. Well, Sydney FC certainly will not want to lose 2 games on the trot. They had such a cracking start to the season. They'll be wanting to get back to winning ways today.
Yeah, definitely. They had a tough loss last week to Melbourne City, but Melbourne City were in such good form, so they wouldn't be too disheartened by it. It's hard to beat a team that's playing absolutely on fire, so I think that they're definitely going to come out looking for a win. You don't want to lose 2 in a row.
Indeed. Now Polias in a bit of space, middle of the park. Sends it left for Abini. Body streaming into the area. Still Abini. Simpson winds up. It's blocked. Polias can't get to it. That'll be Angelique Christodoulou. Again over the top for Legazzo, who's got the speed to chase that down. Tries to cut it back. Over and away on top of the goal.
It's a great little overlapping run there by Chloe, and then for her to stay wide, it puts extra pressure on the left back. And as a defender, it's really hard when you've got extra players running at you and your midfielders don't track it. Chloe will be disappointed with that delivery into the box, but good early signs from Sydney FC.
Certainly are. Someone that's come up from Sydney for today. Sideline for us is Adam Peacock. What's it like down there, Adam?
It's nice, Steph. There's a light breeze going from left to right. Sorry, I was sitting down on halfway, but Daniel McBreen from Newcastle Jets has just come by. He's involved in the A-League this afternoon, but he's a pest, so I'd have to get away from him. As Chloe Legazzo goes forward here, Veronica Latsko on the bench for Sydney FC. I'll throw it up to you, Steph, and let this come back down.
We'll let this play unfold. Huerta over to Ford on the left. Still with Ford, winds up. Oh, it's well over the crossbar. Back to you, Adam.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm trying to avoid the sledges from McBreen down here, but no. Veronica Latchko on the bench for Sydney FC. Such an addition. I mean, what an impact she had last season with Adelaide, and Sydney were very happy to get her for this season. They knew she came here with a knee problem. She did it in training for Houston in the NWSL over there about 8 months ago. She was ready to go a month ago in terms of contact training. They just have really taken their time, got the go-ahead from the doctors finally this week to do it. And this pitch, no problems for someone coming back from an injury, as opposed to last week on that surface at Cromer Park. Didn't want to risk her there.
Yeah, good decision indeed. Latchko, of course, a teammate of Sophia Huerta, wearing the number 11 for Sydney. Handball on Chloe Legarzo means a turnover for the Jets. And Brewer, veteran of this Newcastle Jets side, gets play underway. Andrews with a neat volley over Copus Brown.
We just see Nikki Flannery drop back in to pick up the ball and allow Jenna Kingsley to make a run forward, and that's one really good addition there for Newcastle Jets, having Jenna Kingsley there in the midfield, able to make those forward runs. Originally a winger for the Newcastle Jets, so she adds an extra dimension there for Newcastle Jets in the midfield.
On the opposite flank, of course, is Tessa Tamplin, who's moved up from right back. What do you make of that move? She's playing slightly out of position. What does she add?
Yeah, Tessa Tamplin, it's an interesting move there from Deansy. She's, from the time that I had at Newcastle Jets, she was a young academy player coming through and always a right back, I believe, when I was there. So it's an interesting move for putting her further up the field, but she's a quick player, so I would think that Deansy's probably looking for counter-attacking play.
We're looking at her speed right now. Tamplin chasing down up against Ellie Brush, who's too experienced to let that one roll away. Now Polias finds Simpson. 1-2 between them. Probably not the touch Polias was after. See her frustration.
Yeah, she holds herself to high account there in the midfield, Polias, and it was a little bit uncharacteristic of her, trying to force it a little bit, but that's all right. We're only in the first 10 minutes, so players will still be settling into the game.
Indeed, although for this Sydney FC side, we've seen on too many occasions how many they can score in the first 10 minutes, so they're probably thinking it's a slow start.
Yeah, very dangerous side, and one that you want to keep out for that first 10 minutes. Don't want to let them build up too much confidence.
Christodoulou rolls it through for Abini. Still Princess Abini. Trying to fight away out of traffic, and does. Now Huerta. Sophia Huerta off the left boot. It's pushed away. Back with Polias. Now Abini. Another chance for Abini. Crosses in, finds Simpson, who doesn't quite get the contact she would have liked. All too easy for Quaylo.
No, but great positioning there from Remy Simpson. She's just pulled off the defender's shoulder. Good ball in there from Princess Abini. She would be disappointed not to get more contact on that, but good early signs there from Remy, and we know that she can score a lot of goals, 4 goals already this season.
Ellie Brush, loose pass. It goes as far as Gemma Simon, the veteran of this Newcastle side, most appearances. Over 100 for Newcastle, of course, stints with other clubs as well. Kingsley, now an attacking chance for Newcastle Jets, blocked off by Alana Kennedy. Just displaying the skills that show why she's such a great addition back into this Sydney FC defensive line.
Yeah, well read there by Alana Kennedy. She's such an experienced player, and Sydney FC will be really happy to have her back in there, both for her leadership and her control of the game. She's a big talker, and she'll be organising this Sydney FC side, and then also obviously for her ability to go forward.
Quick work from Cassidy Davis, put under pressure. Now Wheeler. Andrews. Newcastle trying to fight through a very congested field. What a lovely ball, but the flag is up against Jenna Kingsley, who wound up for a cracking strike.
Yeah, just a little bit of frustration there from Jenna Kingsley, but she's got to be careful on that one because we have seen the refs pull out the yellow cards on that one, and she wouldn't want to be picking up a yellow card for something as silly as that, especially this early in the game.
Certainly not. Just under 10 minutes gone here in Newcastle. And off the head of Annabelle Martin, a new addition on debut for the Newcastle Jets. Spent 4 seasons with Melbourne Victory, making her way back from a knee injury.
Yeah, good addition there for Newcastle Jets as well. She's, I guess, a feisty defender there. She doesn't give up, and an extra addition there for the back line, and she'll be shoring things up, but she'll have her hands full with the Sydney FC attacking line.
Another early set piece for Sydney FC. Plenty of white shirts waiting to pounce. Rachel Richardson makes sure the defenders are in position behind their line. And from Polias, brushes header back. Oh, almost landed at the feet of Alana Kennedy.
Yeah, very fortunate there for Newcastle Jets that Sydney FC weren't able to get on the end of that one. Really well headed back there from Ellie Brush. There wasn't a lot she could do with it, but very well done. And then Alana Kennedy, unlucky not to get on the end of that, but very fortunate there for Newcastle Jets.
And a throw from Martin, who joined this side ostensibly because she wanted to get more minutes, which is interesting because she was such a staple for Melbourne Victory for so long. Dangerous hospital passes here going on in front of the goal for Sydney FC, but they managed to fight their way clear. Yeah, Martin came up to, she's at University of Sydney as Sophia Huerta charges forward. Princess Abini. Now Beanie looking for help. On the far side, it's Caitlin Ford trotting through. Still Ford. Goes back for Logarzo. Straight into the breadbasket of Quaylo.
Yeah, we've seen Chloe Logarzo hit a few from out there and find the top corner, so a really good position for her to be picking up the ball on the outside of the box, and should be disappointed not to be able to find a top corner there, but again, good early signs there from Sydney FC.
Might get a chance to finish what I was telling you about Annabelle Martin now. She's at uni with Claire Wheeler and Nicoletta Flannery, also Tegan Collister, all fellow students at Sydney University, and I guess they got chatting and said, come and give it a try. Deansy, of course, Craig Deans had seen her play as a young Matilda when he had them away, so well aware of what she could add to his side.
Yeah, you spoke earlier about her getting a lot of minutes early on in her career for Melbourne Victory, and I think then when we saw Tegan Allen make the move down from Sydney FC, Annabelle Martin struggled to crack the starting lineup, but she's made a move up here to Newcastle Jets for more minutes, and coming up with a few of her teammates here from Sydney Uni. Players who would know each other very well, and all young players who, like Annabelle Martin, will be looking to get some quality game time this season, because that is so important for their development.
And in such a short season, you don't want to spend any time on the pine, do you?
No, definitely not. It's very very difficult for players to be sitting and watching, especially with the effort that you put in at training and the amount of time it takes out of your life. You definitely want to be trying to get minutes in games.
And return from Martin, still with Newcastle. It's Copus Brown trying to flick it over the top for Tamplin.
It's really good to see how Libby Copus-Brown has developed as a player. She was a young player when I was playing at the Newcastle Jets, but she's grown so much in confidence, and just seeing her run forward with the ball and her performance last week against Perth Glory, she looked really good until unfortunately had to come off with a head injury, but playing really well for the Newcastle Jets this season.
And Davis. Wheeler. Newcastle showing some patience as they plan their next foray into the Sydney FC half. Brewer finds Kingsley, who evades Christodoulou. Through ball is perhaps a little bit too much pace on it. Kennedy clears away only temporarily. Police. Garzo finds Ford. A stumble and gives the ball back to Wheeler. Tamplin stretching a bit too far, and now we're back with Ellie Brush.
Yeah, we saw Caitlin Ford running the ball. She got a little bit frustrated there that she didn't get the free kick. Annabelle Martin probably a little bit lucky not to give one away, but good to see the refs just letting the game flow, and we don't want the refs calling up too many light free kicks, because it is all about the flow of the game.
I'll just be grateful there's no VAR in the W League, Georgia.
Sometimes it could be welcomed.
Yeah, I can think of a Western Sydney Wanderers game where they perhaps might have liked it. However, a quarter of an hour gone here in Newcastle. Still no goals between the Newcastle Jets and Sydney FC.
Newcastle playing with a lot of confidence here, though. They're not looking to drop off in a block as much as I thought they would. They're pressing high, but very organised in their decisions to press.
Oh, look at this on the counter from the Jets. Now Kingsley being harried and hassled by Christodoulou. Andrews over the top to Wheeler. A little bit of time to consider her options. She's got Simon overlapping. Elects to go straight into the middle of the box, where it's eventually cleared away by Sydney's Ali Green.
Yeah, good overlapping run there by Gemma Simon. What it does is it puts doubt in the defender's mind whether to go with the runner or stay with the ball, and it allowed Claire Wheeler just to roll inside and get a ball into the box. Princess Abini with a little cheeky shirt tug put her off a little bit, but sometimes you need to do that.
Interesting what you mentioned about Newcastle playing in a block. They've been perhaps not the stronger team on paper for their opposition, but gee, they've managed to stifle the life out of some of these really star-studded sides.
Yeah, we saw them first round have a 1-1 draw with Melbourne City, absolutely star-studded side, so that was a really good result from them, and it just shows what Craig Deans has been able to do with this side. Even with such a short pre-season, he's kept them really organised, and they're playing to a clear system that's working really well for them, and then able to try and score goals on the counter-attack. Very experienced backline there for Newcastle Jets as well. Gemma Simon and Hannah Brewer have a lot of games under their belt, and then Cass Davies over the last 4 or 5 seasons has been a consistent starter there for the Newcastle Jets, so all know each other very well, and it makes it a lot easier to defend when you do know the players around you. Claire Wheeler as well, a very important addition that we see on the ball at the moment, just screening that back line. A very smart player, plays well above her years.
She does. 7th season with the Jets, can you believe it? As Copus Brown goes forward, she winds up for a shot. It goes well right of Bledsoe's upright. Claire Wheeler, of course, is she came through in the Newcastle Jets youth system, and she's just been a stalwart for this side. And you mentioned the experience in that back line, over 100 appearances each for Brewer and for Simon. They both had a stint, Melbourne Victory, wasn't it? I think they had a season and have returned to the Jets.
Yeah, both headed down to Melbourne Victory together and then came back home, but very important players for Newcastle Jets, and I definitely think that those two would consider Newcastle home.
Christodoulou on the right flank for Sydney FC. She's made herself a staple in this right back position. As Libby Copus-Brown nips in for Newcastle. On target, not so much power behind it though.
No, but I don't mind that from Libby Copus-Brown. And we saw last year her score an absolute screamer against Sydney FC. So we know that she can hit them from outside the box, and it just shows how much confidence she's playing with. And that's what Newcastle Jets need.
Well, that was her only goal so far in the W League. I'm sure she'd like to see a repeat of that as Ellie Brush is marked for a foul.
Classic there from Ellie Brush. She doesn't mind running through players.
It was perhaps a little bit agricultural.
Some people believe that the rule of the defender is either you get the ball or the player.
So Newcastle now with a set-piece opportunity. Flannery, Andrews, all waiting. It's Andrews that leaps, doesn't make contact, cleared by Christodoulou to safety, but it'll be a Jets throw.
A lot of attacking opportunities here from the Jets, so it's really good to see. It was a chance this was going to be quite a one-sided game, but they've come out and they're showing a lot of confidence that they can actually take this game to the Sydney FC players.
Newcastle, of course, with the first win on the board last week against Perth Glory. 2-1 result, which will have given them a heap of confidence. It lifts them out of that bottom section of the table. Just chasing a number of teams led by Melbourne City on 13 points.
Yeah, definitely a lot of confidence, and that Perth trip's a really hard one to get 3 points out of, so they would be happy with that. And yeah, it definitely shows that they're playing with more confidence and that they know that going forward they can score goals.
I just saw the quick feet of Claire Wheeler there, saving Newcastle Jets from danger. Unfortunately, it comes undone on the far side. Ali Green was at the ready. Offside called by our assistant referees. Two assistants today are Eleanor Hayes and Maggie Price. Our fourth official, Rebecca Mackey.
Yeah, you spoke about Claire Wheeler, their quick little feet, and she's one of the best players technically that I've played with, playing in that 6 role. She controls the game really well and just she gives the team so much confidence just plugging that role in the midfield.
Kingsley over to Tamplin on the far side. Tessa Tamplin. Cross come shot. I'm thinking cross.
Yeah, I think she was going for the cross there, but we've seen a few goals go in from a cross shot, so why not have the go?
I still remember a few seasons ago where I had a big debate, I think it was with Sarah Walsh in commentary, about whether Sam Kerr's goal was actually a cross. We disagreed vehemently, and Sam confirmed it was actually a cross that went in.
She wouldn't be afraid to confirm something like that either, Sammy. She doesn't mind having a laugh at herself. And I also remember an Elise Perry cross shot at a World Cup one time, which I'm not sure if it was ever confirmed whether it was a shot or a cross, but I definitely believe it was a cross. Cross come goal, you'd be happy with it.
After it goes in, they'll just own it. Sitting deep. See the organised way that the Jets have set up for this. We spoke about their discipline, also their tenacity, and Lana Kennedy sends Remy Simpson flying down the flank. In between these two matches today, we've got a teddy bear throw, which has been organised by the Jets for charity. In a moment, we'll get Adam Peacock to fill us in on some details. Simpson back to Christodoulou. Beanie closer in. Goes back to Christodoulou, cuts back. Oh, there's a flush of bodies in the box to no avail. Caitlin Ford couldn't make contact. Adam Peacock, have you brought your teddy bear to throw?
I don't have a teddy bear. I've got one, but I don't want to give it up because I cuddle it every night. So I don't want to bring it to the game. But no, this is a really good initiative by Newcastle Jets and Laurie McKenna, and the active support for Newcastle Jets who have organised this. Just let this attack play out. No, nothing doing there. Newcastle clear. But yeah, they want everyone to bring a teddy bear. So if you're listening at home, you're in the Newcastle area, you're coming to the game a bit later on. They want everyone to bring a teddy bear, and they're going to do a throw onto the ground just before the A-League game starts, and all of those teddy bears will go to local charities. Local disadvantaged Ronald McDonald House will benefit from this as well. So great initiative from the Newcastle fans and Laurie McKenna. And apparently there's going to be Santa's going to come across the ground just before the A-League game. He may or may not have a heavy Scottish accent, we're not sure, but he'll be in the Westpac helicopter. So great day planned for not just the W League, the A-League, but in between as well here in Newcastle.
Absolutely, and it's the sort of environment and feeling of community spirit that Laurie McKenna has brought with him to all clubs that he's been. I remember well when he was at the Mariners also, so great initiative. Rebounds off Tess Tamplin and falls at the feet of Green. Flicked on by Sampson. A little bit of a miscommunication with Caitlin Ford.
I actually think both teams here are playing a very similar pattern in the way that they press and the way that they're trying to win the ball. And actually, I think Newcastle are finding a little bit more joy trying to find gaps in between. Newcastle are doing really well defensively to block off lines, and it seems to be frustrating the likes of Alana Kennedy, Ellie Brush and Teresa Polias going forward. So if they can continue to do that and nick a ball up in the final third, they could be in there.
Can hear some vocal supporters already in the stands here at Newcastle. Some of them we saw already holding those teddy bears. Just one more note on the teddy bear throw. If you bring your teddy bear along to Newcastle today, you will get free entry into the men's A-League match a little later on. But of course, we've still got more than an hour to enjoy here with the women's match, the W League between Newcastle Jets and Sydney FC. Neither keeper been troubled too much thus far.
Aubrey Bledsoe's a very exciting player for us to be able to have in the W League again this season. Very, very good goalkeeper. Got the first call up into the US national team camp, and off the back of goalkeeper of the year performance in the NWSL. So a very high quality keeper coming through the ranks in the US, and we're very fortunate to have her playing in the W League.
Yeah, super in the NWSL, goalkeeper of the year for Washington Spirit. Of course, she moved there from Orlando Pride, where she was coached by none other than what we're calling our own Tommy Samani.
He will always be our own, I think, Tommy Samani.
Well, he's got one foot either side of the ditch at the moment with the New Zealand national team, but he does call Sydney home and pops up regularly in the crowd watching the W League.
Yeah, I made my debut under Tommy, so I'll always have a soft spot for him.
Not alone there as Ford feeds the ball through, almost on for Huerta. Again to Rice, showing the tenacity makes her one of the best midfielders, and it's up, palmed over the crossbar by Quaylo. What a great reaction save, but smart thinking from Teresa Polias.
Great save there by Claire Quaylo, but what a strike there from Teresa Polias. We don't see her scoring many goals in the W League, so it's really good to see her have the confidence to have a strike, even from that far out.
And she's earned Sydney FC a corner. Most appearances of anyone in the W League, Teresa Polias, only 2 goals to her name. She'd certainly love the third as she delivers from the far side. Doesn't quite find the target, but Caitlin Ford's there, still there. Eventually cleared to safety by Claire Wheeler.
Newcastle Jets have to stay switched on here. Dangerous players there in the box for Sydney FC off corners, and Teresa Polias will be looking for Alana Kennedy's head here.
135th W League game for Teresa Plies. Most of them, of course, in Sydney FC colours, but had a stint at the Mariners in the inaugural season. Beautifully delivered in, headed away. And still there for Christodoulou. Now Huerta. Huerta with a shot. Up and over. And plenty of shots for Sydney FC. None of them so far troubling Quaylo too much.
Yeah, she did get a lot behind that shot, though. It was absolutely flying. Just lifted it up a little bit too far over the crossbar.
Wheeler. It's a lovely ball through for Annabelle Martin. Martin hoping to find a fellow blue shirt. Miscommunication with Kingsley, perhaps.
It's a tough ball in there for a winger to take the ball from that angle. Annabelle Martin had a lot of space in front of her. Chloe Lagazo was coming over to close her down, but I would have liked to see her running further forward and even partnering up there with Tess Tamperlin. I think there was a good opportunity for Newcastle Jets, and probably just showing Annabelle having not had many minutes this season.
Well, look at this run from Sydney FC. If Huerta can, no, she can't. But wow, that was a beautiful build-up. We saw a wonderful leave through to the midfield and just fed perhaps a little bit too much pace for Huerta. But when Sydney FC are on song, that's where they're so dangerous.
Yeah, definitely it is. Their build-up play coming through the midfield and their ability to know what each other's doing and to play the ball in front of each other.
And this kick from Andrews gives it straight to Caitlin Ford. Now Polias. Beanie leaves for Christodoulou, who sends it through for Simpson. And there is Remy Simpson's 5th goal, putting Sydney FC in front here in Newcastle. Simpson is on fire this season.
Yeah, and what a great ball in there from Christodoulou. Just gets a really nice shape on it, and all Remy has to do is redirect the ball. Claire Quaylo didn't have much of a chance behind that one, but very well finished there from Remy Simpson.
Certainly was, and we'd have to say it's almost a bit slow for Simpson, because what she'd done in previous weeks, she's scored on the 4th, 22nd, 3rd and 6th minutes. So she's waited till the half-hour mark this time, but none the less celebratory for all that.
Yeah,
CFC in front.
Rubbish there from Simpson. Too slow there on scoring the goals, and only 5 this season, so honestly, maybe it's time to come off.
Yeah, Auntie Juric needs to have a word with her in the break. She's just been in stellar form, though. Now she's back as Andrews fancies an equaliser. Pushed back by Lagazo to Ford, who's spotted Abini. It's caught by Gemma Simon. Brewer, back to Cassidy Davis. Yeah, it's hard to believe that Simpson had a whole season at Western Sydney Wanderers without scoring a goal. Oh, could be on here. It's a little bit beyond Nicoletta Flannery, as fast as she is.
Yeah, it's we spoke of Remy Simpson, and it's really good to see her back in form and back getting the minutes and the goals in the sky blue. She came across to Western Sydney with, there was a whole group of us that moved across from Sydney FC, and unfortunately last season it didn't really come together for us, and off the back of that it's really hard for strikers to be scoring goals, so it's good to see her back playing with confidence. She's a big confidence player, works really hard, so it's just the fruits of her hard work.
Oh, look at that from Copus Brown. She picks the pocket of Christodoulou. Lunging effort from Lagazo to Simpson. Probably not what she wanted, but yes, as you said, nice to see her back in full form and in full confidence. And speaking of that, when are we going to see you back, Georgia? I want to see you back on the pitch.
Hopefully sooner rather than later, but it's I'm battling quite a frustrating injury at the moment, so not putting a timeline on anything, but working hard to get back.
Well, it's good for us. It gives you a chance to join us in the comms box and share your extensive knowledge after well, you've played with 3 or 4 W League sides, so you know a lot of these girls very well.
Yeah, I've worked my way around the clubs in the W League and played under a lot of different coaches and with a lot of these a lot of these players out here, but definitely enjoying being in the commentary and staying in touch with the game.
Lana Kennedy, another one who's worked her way around the W League. She was here at the Jets, actually, for a stint. Also, of course, Wanderers, Glory, Melbourne City. Sydney FC very glad to have her back for another stint. As Lagazzo pushes it on for Christodoulou. Time to consider her options. Goes back to Lagazzo. Nudges it for Huerta. Polias. Now Kennedy. Oh, that's lovely from Kennedy. Straight to the feet of Remy Simpson. Now Christodoulou. She won't want to see that one back again.
No, didn't quite get the contact she wanted to get on that one. Unsure of whether she was looking for Remy Simpson or trying to get the cross in there, or whether she just got mixed in between the two, but didn't come off quite the way she would have liked it.
Sydney FC applying plenty of pressure to Newcastle Jets as they try to play out. To good effect this time. Rush to Kennedy. Kennedy, another one, of course, who would have greeted the news of the Women's World Cup bid with great delight this week. Wonderful news, and there's so much support behind that joint bid with New Zealand. Keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, really exciting time for football in Australia and the Matildas, and to be able to partner up with New Zealand to try and strengthen the chance of the bid.
Look at that play, started with Huerta to Polias. Ford charging in, still there, it's palmed down by Quaylo. Gee, she's a dangerous player, Caitlin Ford, and she's really, I feel like she's coming back into the top form that we know Caitlin for. I thought she was maybe a little bit off the boil, and we're talking a very high standard because it is Caitlin Ford, but I thought she perhaps wasn't playing it at her peak, and it's great to see what she's been able to do in these past few weeks for Sydney.
Yeah, she's on fire, and even in the start of this game, she's looking as one of the most dangerous players in this game. But you're right, we hold her to high account.
Ball in for Sydney FC, and kind of went into the mixer, but there wasn't anyone too keen to take possession. About 10 minutes, just under 10 minutes remaining in this first half. Sydney FC with the lead, thanks to who else but Remy Simpson on the half-hour mark. Wouldn't the Jets love an equaliser before the break?
Yeah, and they are looking the chance. They're having some good counter-attacking play, but towards the back end of, or in the last 10-15 minutes, Sydney FC have definitely taken control of the game. But it doesn't mean that with the way that Newcastle Jets are pressing, that they're not going to be able to pick up the ball and have a counter-attacking play.
Neatly from Caitlin Ford, flicked it through to Lagazzo, sends it to Christodoulou. Blew her in the way there. Only as far as Caitlin Ford. Caitlin Ford again. That time Martin blocking the shot. Still with Caitlin Ford.
I feel like Caitlin Ford's looking even quicker than she usually does in this game. So
well, Simpson gets a foot on that. Sorry, Georgia. It's headed for goal, as you were saying.
No, very exciting play there. And we know that when Remy Simpson's on the ball, it could go in the back of the net. But yeah, I feel like Caitlin Ford's looking quicker than she usually does. So I wonder what she's doing with her training off the field, whether it's more gym work or just on fire.
Miscue between the Newcastle players. Sees who else but Caitlin Ford back in the mix, still with Ford. Awkward angle, does manage to cut it back. Can't find a Sydney shirt.
Another really dangerous build-up there from Sydney FC. Newcastle Jets are absolutely under the pump there in the back line.
Just having problems getting it out of their half at the moment, and you just wonder whether perhaps making use of the pace of some of their attacking players might give them a little bit more room.
Yeah, I think their front three are spending a lot of energy tracking their players back and even checking back into the ball. So maybe they need to sit off the shoulders of players a little bit more.
was trying to find Tamplin. So Flannery take a spill in the meantime. Didn't quite see what happened there. She's back on her feet.
She threw her hands up in the air though, so she wasn't happy with the contact. But yeah, we talk about playing to the strengths of Newcastle Jets in their speed up front, but Sydney FC backline's pretty quick.
So's their forward line as Caitlin Ford once again charging into the area. Now looking for teammates. Finds one in Alana Kennedy. Thought about a shot, decides to give it back to Caitlin Ford. Here was Copus Brown that got a foot on that, but Ford is getting way too much time on the ball right now for Newcastle's liking.
Yeah, she is, but she's also a really difficult player to defend against because you don't want to get too close to her because she's really good at rolling players, and once she takes off, there's not many people that can stay close to her.
Short corner from Sydney FC. Now Polias delivers. Plenty of heads flying in there. It's Simpson chasing down on the far side. Now Alonso tries to run through. Beg your pardon, Ford. Ali Green over the top. Kennedy's there. It's pounded away initially. And it's there again for Kennedy. Still can't make it count. Abini this time with a shot. Lagazzo still there for Abini. Newcastle desperately clearing only as far as Teresa Polias. Can they make it count? And Claire Quaylo, I think, will be very grateful to clutch that one in.
Yeah, what great defence there from Newcastle Jets. So desperate. We're just having a look whether Alana Kennedy was offside, but she seemed to look okay. But yeah, disappointed not to put that one in the back of the net. But desperate defence there from Newcastle Jets.
Well, the Jets punish them at the other end now. Kingsley. Salden harried by Christodoulou again. Squirter that comes away with it. Simpson collects. Feeds it through for Christodoulou. Just a little bit too much pace on that as it rolls over the whitewash.
Yeah, it was a good thought there. Remy Simpson just rolling out to Christodoulou just to try and slow down the play a little bit. But as you said, Steph, put a little bit too much on it.
The American interested viewer here at the W League. So we watch the women's team battle Sydney FC, reigning champions, of course, Sydney. Sitting third on the table at the moment, behind Melbourne City and their crosstown rivals, the Western Sydney Wanderers. Sydney were to win today, they would go second behind Melbourne City. For Newcastle, they could jump a couple of spots, join Canberra up in fourth spot.
Yeah, Sydney FC looking so dangerous at the moment, and as we've said before, still got Latsko to come in.
Oh, we've got a Beanie running in now. There's space there. We had better options. And some space down the left flank for Newcastle. Lands at the feet of Kingsley, and it's back to Wheeler. Oh, neat work from Wheeler to avoid Huerta. Doesn't quite find the mark, but does draw a foul. And better here from Newcastle.
Yeah, great work there from Claire Wheeler, and as I said before, she's technically such a good player. The way that she drives at players, and she's not the quickest player, but she's quick on the ball, which is often quite hard. We see players who are able to run, but once you've got a ball at your feet, it can slow you down. But she's so quick on the ball.
Delivered in by Copus Brown, and Claire Wheeler, you can see her commitment to every play and a commitment to the club. Of course, she did win the Cheryl Salisbury medal a couple of seasons ago for commitment, and she just shows that every time she runs out in a Newcastle shirt. Huerta, Lagazzo. She's got options, but she finds Simpson. Simpson again, can she make it? Two, rolls just wide, and wow, that would have been a coach killer this close to half-time to have the lead doubled. Not to be, but again, a lovely build-up from Sydney FC.
Yeah, it was to have four players running at the back line there for the Newcastle Jets. They were great little run there from Chloe Lagazzo, and for her to be able to slip Remy Simpson in. Desperate defence there from Annabelle Martin, just able to put Remy Simpson off on that shot. But another great opportunity from Sydney FC leading into half-time.
A couple of minutes still remaining in this half. Time certainly for the Jets to equalise. Tara Andrews. Still Andrews goes through to Flannery. And eventually it's all dissipated by Ali Green, whose pass is blocked by Martin. And Kingsley's there, headed away by Christodoulou. And Jets can't get that final touch. They're perhaps not quite clinical enough in the final third.
Yeah, they're having some great build-up play, but it seems like Sydney FC are outnumbering them in every part of the field, whether that's Sydney FC going forward or defensively. So when Newcastle Jets are going forward, they don't seem to have enough players in the box, whether they're concerned about a counter-attacking play and sitting more defensively.
Here's Caitlin Ford again. Sophia Huerta. Christodoulou. Plenty of players leaping to try and get on the end of that. Board goes up, the obligatory 1 minute of time added on. Still time for Sydney FC to add to that tally. Simpson goes back for Ford, who hooks it in, and it's equally booted away by Hannah Brewer. Green was waiting at the other end. Goes back to Alana Kennedy for safety. Lugazzo left by Huerta for Christodoulou. Rolls it through for Lugazzo to pick up once more. Lugazzo getting plenty of attention, almost managed to nip clear. It'll be a corner for the Sky Blue side, potentially the last play of this first half. Will there be another goal before the whistle goes? In from Polias. Again, the leaping head of Alana Kennedy. Couldn't quite connect. Huerta there. Pummeled down by Tara Andrews. Still there. Could it be one for Ford? Oh, when it goes just wide. And that is the whistle. Disappointment there for Ford. She would have loved to finish off that half with another goal for Sydney FC, but as it was, probably the Sky Blues dominating the latter part of that first half. Plenty of chances really at both ends, but it was Remy Simpson that made it count at half-time. It's the goal on the half hour for Remy Simpson that is the difference here in Newcastle. It's Newcastle 0, Sydney FC 1. Let's head down to Adam Peacock.
Thanks, Steph. Caitlin Ford here. Won't mention what just happened there. We'll leave it behind us. But overall, that first half, you're pretty happy with the way things are going?
I mean, I think there's definitely good things to take out of it, but I think we need to be a little bit more patient on the ball, and we have more time than we think, and once we get it out on the switch, we're killing them. But, you know, we just got to find it more and stop going down the same side all the time. Your
role, you seem to be roaming a little bit. Is that you trying to find the ball, or are you just being given free licence?
Kind of free license, but I don't know, just whenever we're defending, if I'm on that side, yeah, Prinny, stay there. But no, we've got a bit of a free roll.
Cool. Good luck in the second half. Thanks, Caitlin. Cheers. We're off to a quick break here from McDonald Jones Stadium in Newcastle. And myself and Georgia Yeomandale are going to talk about all the action from the first half. Sydney FC in control. Can the home side come back? We're back in a moment.
Hey?
Check shot for makeup. Nikki, sorry. You happy with Georgia there?
Georgia needs the box.
I was thinking about wearing my heels, but I'll stand on my toes.
Should I do this? Is that better?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Who was the defender on the Simpson goal?
Radio.
On her. Was it Cassidy Davis? Could we just have a look at the Remy goal, Brucey, if you got it?
Probably would have been, but I can't confirm. You're right. Have we got a clip? No. I feel like it's... I haven't got another one.
Gotcha, Shu. Six. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. He's landing out the back and then we take off again. Good, yourself? Sydney FC looking to bounce back after last week's home defeat to Melbourne City. They're going in the right direction. First half had a lot of the play, especially the dangerous moments in that first half against Newcastle Jets. And the Sky Blues playing in white today lead 1-0. But the Jets, we know them so far from this season in the W League. Extremely hard to beat, resilient side. A lot of togetherness about the Jets this season. And Georgia Yeomandale at half-time. It is still very much the home side in it, but Sydney FC with the better chances so far.
Yeah, Newcastle Jets aren't looking too bad. Defensively, they're staying as a block and they're looking dangerous going forward on counter-attacks. But Sydney FC, they're showing their talent, especially build-up plays going forward and looking very dangerous.
Remy Simpson, she scored a lot of goals so far this season, probably her most prolific W League season, still a very young player. And she's got this, it's interesting, the psychology of football. She's got Veronica Lachko obviously brought in as the main striker for Sydney this season on the bench today. This will do her wonders, a finish like this.
Yeah, definitely. It's been 5 goals for Remy Simpson already and in only 5 games, and brilliant performances, and what a great finish from her. Just getting in front of Cass Davies there. Cass needs to, as a defender, get in front of Remy, but she's managed to get herself in a good position and just glance the ball over Claire Coelho. But yeah, it's hard. It makes it hard for a coach to drop Remy after the performance she's had so far.
Yeah, really talented player on her day, and that's a great goal. Just on Cassidy Davis, her body positioning there, it's one thing to be, she was caught a little square. Should she maybe just drop round the back and maybe tried to give Remy a bit of a nudge as she went up for that header? Yeah,
definitely. There's more things she could have done. When you get caught in behind the attacker, it's really hard to make any contact because you are in the box and there is that risk of giving away a penalty. But as a defender, you can't let your attackers get in front of you, especially in the box there. So she needed to get to the effort of getting in front of Remy Simpson or making communication there with Hannah Brewer to call Hannah Brewer back and make sure she got in contact or got in a contest there for that header.
Why have Sydney had the glut of the better chances and looked the more threatening, in your opinion?
I think it's about the numbers that they're sending forward. Every time they're going forward, they're getting so many players in the box, and also their players are on fire. Caitlin Ford, when she's picking up the ball and she's running at the defenders, she's getting through 2, 3, 4 defenders just because of her quick feet. So individually, Sydney FC are looking really dangerous, and then of course as a team they're able to combine, and that's really made it really difficult for Newcastle defensively.
That was the first time they really threatened goal, and oddly enough it came from their deepest lying midfielder in Teresa Polias, but they've got that advantage of their two other midfielders in Huerta and also Chloe Legarzo love getting involved in anything that might be happening in the final third. They can't help themselves.
Yeah, definitely. Two players who have spent time in attack, have spent time as wingers, even as number 9. So they've got 5 players there up front who are very interchangeable in their positions, and it means that if Chloe makes a run out wide, someone else can just pop inside for her. And again, that moves defenders and it makes it really hard defensively to either track your players or you have to be passing people on, so it tests their communication.
Caitlin Ford, talked to her as she came off. I asked her about her role today specifically. It does seem like it is a bit of a free role. Is that the way to coach someone like Caitlin, given how talented she is? Don't give her too many instructions about, lanes she needs to be in. Just let her go out there and play.
Oh, definitely. She's a player who needs to be able to check into the ball, pick it up, hang out wide, hang off the shoulder of defenders. She's smart enough to know what her strengths are, and as you said, you've just got to let her go. You've got to let her do whatever she feels is right in the moment because of how dangerous she is. You don't want to constrict her too much to a certain position.
What is her best position though? Do you think it's something central or out wide running in that way?
Oh, everyone has different opinions on it. I believe her best position is when she can actually just drop back in and pick up the ball. And we spoke before about the midfielders that can move on. So if she is sitting in a number 9 role and she checks back, midfielders like Chloe Legarzo are going to run forward and fill the space. And that's what's most important. So what position Caitlin plays is more about the players that she's got around her and who can actually fill gaps when she is checking in.
Newcastle, they've got the pitch from back third to mid third okay on occasions. Then that final third, it's difficult against players like Kennedy and such at the back for Sydney FC. But what do they need to tweak? What do they need to do a little differently to make 1 or 2 chances become 4 or 5 and really put Sydney under pressure?
Yeah, you're right. Their build-up play from the back line into the midfield has been really good. But going forward, unlike what we see for Sydney, is they're struggling to get numbers forward. And I think that's a lot to do with how concerned they are defensively with the attack of Sydney FC. Their midfielders are a bit hesitant to go forward, but we've seen Copus Brown, once she picks up the ball with a little bit of space in front of her, she's happy to attack. That's when Newcastle look dangerous. So it's more about they have to throw their midfielders forward and take a bit of a chance on actually pushing numbers forward, because if they're trying to attack with just 3 players against the 4 defenders that that Sydney FC have, they're going to really struggle.
I just got nutmegged, by the way, for the kids playing behind. They were very happy about it, so that was what that noise was about. Quick one, Tara Andrews, involved enough?
Yeah, look, probably not. Teresa Polias is kind of marking her out of the game a little bit, and she's struggling to get on the ball, but when we have seen her on the ball, her control of the game and her ability to switch the point is really good. She's, as we've seen before, technically such a good player. So we do need to look, or Newcastle need to look to get her on the ball a lot more because she is going to be a really dangerous player for them.
We are off to a quick break, happily, so I don't get nutmegged again. And even more happily, we're going to see the second half. What's going to become of this match? Sydney FC back to winning ways ahead of the derby next week, or Newcastle going to get out another result against a big side in the W League? See you on the other side of this.
Alex. Hello. Sure. Monitor bars. Amazing.
No. Oh.
One. Hello, Steph. No, maybe not.
Sorry, I can hear you guys on the pitch.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm very well. You wanted me to be Simon, didn't you?
Never.
I could be Tara.
There's Miss Rusty.
Welcome back to Newcastle in this round 5 clash in the W League. It is the visitors, Sydney FC, leading Newcastle Jets by a 1-0. One can only wonder what the various coaches might have said in the dressing room. Craig Deans would have to be happy with the defensive effort that his side put up under a lot of threat within the goal area. However, they would certainly love to be able to snatch a goal back, level things up and make it a really interesting contest. Sydney FC, for their part, finished that first half so dominantly that, well, you really think that had they gone on with it, it could have been quite dangerous indeed. And Rachel Mitchinson carries the ball out to the middle. And we do have a change. We've got Lauren Allen coming on for Gemma Simon. Georgia Yeomandale, what do you make of that change?
Yeah, look, bringing on a young player there in Lauren Allen, a bit unknown to the W League, so it'll be interesting to see what she can bring to this Newcastle Jets side. Craig Deans obviously felt like he needed to make a sub.
Let's find out from Craig Deans. One change at the break, Craig. What is the reasoning behind that?
Oh, Gemma's had a little bit of a knock on her knee for a few weeks now, and she got another one early in the first half, so it's just injury.
And what did you have to say at the break? You must have been pleased with the defensive effort, certainly.
Yeah, we defended quite well. We gave away a little bit of territory, sat a little bit too deep and probably a little bit too respectful of the opposition. So we're going to try and be a little bit more aggressive this half and defend a bit higher and try and get a bit more pressure on the ball. And I think we need to be a bit more composed as well in front third. And when we get some chances, we're going to have to take them because we're not getting many, I don't think.
Great stuff, Craig. Thanks for chatting and good luck for the second half.
Thank you.
Sydney FC once again in possession early on. Who else but Caitlin Ford? She was looking for Simpson and Lagazo, both at the ready.
I spoke at half-time about Cass Davis' position there on the Remy Simpson goal and not getting in front. So on that one there, when we saw Caitlin Ford whip the ball in, Cass was in front, and that was a much better position for her to be in, able to clear the ball.
And crossing from Ali Green comes off the head of Huerta. Not quite in the right direction. Bit of excitement there from the few travelling Sydney fans who've joined us up in the Hunter.
Yeah, great early signs again from Sydney FC. So Newcastle Jets are going to have to try and settle the game and get themselves in on this second half.
Wheeler back to Brewer. Cass Davis charging forward. Oh, that's a nice ball there, but just beyond the speed of Annabelle Martin. Good intent, though, from Newcastle.
Yeah, great little ball out there from Libby Copus-Brown. Unfortunately, Annabelle Martin unable to get on the end of it, but good little build-up play, and Cass Davies driving the ball into the midfield is what really opened that up and allowed Libby to get on the ball.
Garzo to the feet of Ford. And here goes Caitlin Ford again. It's so difficult to contain. Stradulu on the far side. And some close attention from Tamplin. Thought that Sydney FC might have got away with that. Whistle's gone.
Yeah, well done there by Claire Wheeler, just getting her body in the way, which is all she needed to do, and Caitlin Ford just a little bit over-aggressive there, trying to get around her, but that's just shows Caitlin Ford's eagerness to get forward and to get in the box and try and get some goals away there for Sydney FC.
Ball ricocheting off both sides, and now it's Hannah Brewer. Cass Davis. Probably hoping that she could have found Allen. Wasn't to be. Garzo and Ford both placing a lot of pressure on Newcastle Jets. Quite too smart for that.
Close call there, though, with Caitlin Ford running on. She's a quick attacker, so she's probably a little bit unlucky not to be able to close that ball down, but Claire Quayler got away with it.
Craig Dean spoke quite concisely about what he expects of this side, and he talks about potentially this Newcastle Jets side paying their opponents too much respect, and I like the fact that he doesn't want them to do that, because they've got a young side, and when you look at some of the names that are on the team sheets of their opposition, it's been really impressive that they, I feel, haven't shown them too much respect.
Yeah, no, I didn't think that. I thought they really took it to Sydney FC in that first half, but Craig Deans is the kind of coach that holds any of his teams to high account, and he would want a lot more from this Newcastle Jets. He really believes in all of his players, and he would want them to really take it to Sydney FC in this second half. He doesn't want them to roll over and accept draws or just losses against these teams. So he's out there to win it, and he wants his team to...
Oh, danger there now towards Remy Simpson, and she's got a second. That is the third game that Remy Simpson has a brace. An absolute howler from Newcastle. That gives Sydney a 2-0 lead.
Great composed finish there from Remy Simpson. Again, Sydney FC applying pressure high up the field. Claire Quaylo, we saw her almost get caught on the ball there from Caitlin Ford earlier, and she's just miscued that pass, and Remy Simpson able to pick it up in the box, and a great finish, great shape on that ball, and she's just put that in the corner. Well done from Remy Simpson.
Yeah, great poaching from the striker, but you've got to feel for Claire Quaylo after the immense effort that she's put in. She'll be really disappointed. Hopefully she doesn't let her head drop now.
Tough one there for all of the Newcastle Jets players to cop a goal there this early in the second half. And yeah, Steph, you're right. Claire Quaylo had a really good first half, so she'd be really disappointed to give one away like that.
It's great to see her getting so much first-team football as well, because I know for years she was second-choice keeper, didn't get a lot of minutes. I know she joined you guys at Sydney FC for a semi-final, was it?
Yeah, she did. She has spent a lot of time as a second goalkeeper, so she'd be happy to be in the starting team.
Certainly would. Here's Police charging through, trying to get that to safety. Still alive for Sydney FC, but all comes undone. Let's go down to Adam Peacock.
Yeah, Steph, I spoke to Ante Juric just after the halftime break, but before that goal, and his instructions to his team was more of the same, just a bit quicker in that final third, and especially in the middle of the park, when you see space, utilise it, turn and face forward, and that happened just before the goal happened. Obviously, it came off a mistake, but just before then, Remy Simpson turned and tried to utilise that space. So, yeah, more pressure coming Newcastle's way, you dare say.
Yeah, so she utilised it pretty well. He'd have to be happy with that. It's now Sophia Huerta and Abini running in for the same ball. It's a Sydney throw.
You'd have to think that Ante Juric's going to have a bit of a headache in choosing his starting 11 when Lats goes back to full strength. We spoke at half-time. She was brought in to be the starting number 9, but how can you drop Remy Simpson after the start to the season she's had, sitting in up the top of the leaderboard for goals this season? And as you mentioned, 3 braces already. She's absolutely on fire.
Certainly is. And Huerta, as we mentioned, is Veronica Latsko's teammate, so the combination play between them you'd think would already be established. I just don't know who you'd take off. I wonder whether perhaps Abini might be the one to make way.
Yeah, potentially, and it's not even for poor form, but you look at their strike force. You got Caitlin Fournier, you got Remy Simpson in absolute stride. So you'd have to think it's going to be Princess making way.
Well, Abini through for Simpson. It's rejected by the Newcastle defence. Now Andrews once again higher up the park than she'd probably like to be. Talking before the game about how Tara can actually hold the ball up and actually doesn't mind a dribble with it, which is not the usual play for a tall player. And here Tamplin charging through. Alana Kennedy way too experienced to let that one go away.
Yeah, no, Tara Andrews is technically a brilliant player. Early on in her career, she was scoring bombs for Newcastle Jets. I think she scored one from halfway at one point. But technically brilliant, picks up the ball, she can check back. With her height, she's able to hold defenders off, hold the ball up and allow players to get forward. But when she is on the ball, she's also able to run at defenders.
Super ball over the top from Lagazzo to Simpson. Gives it back to Christodoulou. Body's tumbling on the far side. Feeds it through for Abini. No flag. Still with Princess Abini. And back 4 forward. Cuts it back. Simpson still there for Simpson, and cleared gratefully away by Newcastle. Only as far as Ali Green. Space for Ali Green. Bounces favourably for Sydney FC. Newcastle can't win a trick here at the moment. Lagazzo to Sophia Huerta. Charging once more into the area for Sydney FC, and that time Coelho lunges, grabs the ball, and I think that's going to give her a bit of confidence back.
Yeah, definitely. She doesn't look like she's lost too much confidence. She's the kind of player who can forget her mistakes pretty easily, and that's what you need from goalkeepers. Is they are going to make mistakes at some points, and you need them to forget them in the game and just be able to continue playing. But I did think that we were about to see a hat-trick there from Remy Simpson.
Wouldn't she enjoy that? Already top of the Golden Boot standings. 6 goals to her name. So we see the men who are preparing for their match a little later after the teddy bear throw, and as Adam Peacock tells us, Santa Claus as well. That's all happening in Newcastle today.
Very exciting time for the families down here in Newcastle with Santa coming along.
Caitlin Ford shows that she's putting in a defensive shift as well. When do you think Ante Juric will be tempted to go to the bench? He's doesn't really have anyone underperforming.
No, he doesn't, and he isn't the kind of coach that's going to make subs if he doesn't need to. I think he'd be pretty happy with the way that all 11 players are performing out there today. So I don't think he really needs to make any subs unless he wants to bring Latsko on to give her some minutes in her legs, because coming back from injury, you do need to build up that. So unless it's going to be a tactical thing for going forward in the season, I don't think we're going to see him make too many changes.
Yeah, I agree with you regarding Latsko. he'll be keen to get her involved. Such a short season, the W League, that you don't want to waste any time. He said she's done her full 8 months for recovery from her ACL, and she's been raring to go. I spoke to her last week in Manly, and she's been ever so keen just to get on the park.
Yeah, she looks like she's warming up, getting ready to go there. So I wonder if it's going to be a change earlier than we would have thought. But 8 months is quite short for an ACL. In Australia, we have a mandatory 12-month ACL recovery, but in the US, we see players coming back as early as 6 months. So they would be happy that she's coming back at the eighth month mark, and hopefully she's fully fit.
Just happy she's allowed to, no doubt. Just earlier we saw Libby Copus-Brown have a shot that went wide. Perhaps desperate just to get any sort of action towards Aubrey Bledsoe's goal.
Yeah, she hasn't been troubled too much this game, but she'll definitely be back there making sure she's keeping the defence organised, because often when you are dominating teams in possession, you can find yourself switching off a little bit as defenders. So the likes of Aubrey Bledsoe should be making sure her team is definitely switched on for the full 90.
Now Caitlin Ford still looking for some positive opportunity. She looks so dangerous, and you really feel that a goal must be coming for Ford. Now it's Abini though. Princess Abini almost trips, doesn't manage to stay on her feet, but does draw a foul.
Yeah, a bit too much contact there from Claire Wheeler. Abini's done well to... Oh, sorry, Tara Andrews there. Abini's done well to drive forward, but at that pace, any kind of contact puts you off balance, and she's gone down, and this is a really dangerous position here. Sydney FC obviously have Alana Kennedy on the ball, and we know that this is a place where she loves to take a set piece.
One of her favourite spots. We've seen Alana Kennedy score from this sort of range time and time again. Coelho jiggling in the Newcastle goal. She certainly knows what's coming. Alana Kennedy. Kennedy! Oh, it rolls just beyond Coelho's grasp, but fortuitously past the right upright. She'll be very relieved with that. Another good delivery from Kennedy.
Yeah, that is a great save there from Claire Coelho. We know Alana Kennedy can go either way, so Claire's really got to set herself up in the middle of the goal, which makes it difficult for a goalkeeper to get a hand to it, but gee, she's done well there.
Nice from the left. Trying to head it down. It's still bobbling around in the air. A bit like playing hot potato sometimes in the Sydney FC box.
Yeah, definitely, and that's a lot to do with the Newcastle Jets' desperate defence. We spoke about it in the first half. They're just happy to get their body behind the ball and try to keep the ball out.
Oh, rinse and repeat for Teresa Polias. Gratefully headed away by Newcastle, only temporarily. And now it's Allen. Allen's been tripped, and that will be a foul.
Yeah, I'd say that was probably a professional foul there from Chloe. She knows that her defence was up, coming off the back. Coming off the back of that corner. When you throw players forward and the defensive team gets a quick breakaway, sometimes you do have to pull out a cheeky foul and either get a tug on the shirt or get a little trip. Gives a free kick away in not such a dangerous position, but now Chloe Lagazo picked up a yellow card. She's going to have to be careful for the rest of this half.
She charges down on Cassidy Davis, who sends the ball over the top only as far as Ellie Brush. It's dangerous for Newcastle now. Lagazo. Still Chloe Lagazo. A miscued kick there. It's Tessa Tamplin charge forward. Andrews. Again Lagazo in the way. Finds Ford. Caitlin Ford has got assistance coming from all angles. Opts to go right. Kennedy. That one's blocked off by Claire Wheeler.
That's not good to see. Alana Kennedy's just pulled up a little bit limp there after the cross on that one, but we don't often see Alana Kennedy that high up the pitch.
Copus Brown high up the pitch on her side. Oh, that would have been absolutely beautiful. Came very, very close to threading the needle perfectly.
Yeah, definitely threaded the needle there on that one. Managed to slip it through quite a tight space and unfortunately doesn't find Jenna Kingsley on the other side.
Newcastle Jets say let's have another go. Flannery wasn't able to outrun her defender, Ali Green, too quick.
Great challenge there from Ali Green.
She's been great this season for Sydney FC.
She has been. Defensively, she's just very composed.
Copus Brown, still Copus Brown for Newcastle, into the side netting. She's disappointed with that as she picks herself up off the turf.
Playing very well though, again, Copus Brown, looking one of Newcastle's most dangerous players.
See again here, Alana Kennedy. Yeah, on that kick, she's perhaps overextended, has she?
Yeah, have to have a close look at it. I don't know if it's a hamstring thing or whether she's just, sometimes you can hit it with a floppy ankle and that can sting, but it doesn't do any serious damage. So she looks to be moving a lot freer now. Hopefully it's nothing too serious.
Of course, the injury she's come back from was a foot injury picked up while on Matilda's duty. Hopefully not a recurrence of that. She seems to be moving freely enough now.
We spoke earlier of Ali Green though, and you're right, she's had such a good season and a great season last year for Sydney FC as well, and has become one of the solid picks in there for the starting 11. A very disciplined defender, which you need sometimes when you have a lot of players going forward.
Lagazzo combining with Ford. Late intervention from Hannah Brewer.
Hannah Brewer is another player here for the Newcastle Jets who's had a great game today. Defensively, she's putting her body on the line and getting in good positions to challenge the attacking players.
Tell you that we're probably not far from seeing Veronica Latsko enter the fray. She's being ready on the sideline as Palace delivers yet another corner for Sydney FC. This time Ford leaping high, doesn't quite manage to get there, and it's Copus Brown. Oh, ricocheted off Chloe Lagazzo. It's safety for the Newcastle Jets.
Great ball in here from Teresa Polias, and we don't see Caitlin Ford getting on the end of a header very often, so she's put it in a good position, but well cleared in the end by Newcastle Jets.
You can hear some cheers in the crowd from the Sydney FC fans that have made the trip here. They've seen Latsko jumping around on the sideline, ready to come on. That's a few minutes away as Annabelle Martin pushes it forward for Newcastle. Flannery. Sydney FC applying pressure in numbers. Martin again. Davis. I saw Flannery on the ball there earlier, but it doesn't seem like they've been able to get her a whole lot of service this match.
No, they haven't. They are struggling getting forward, though. So most of their attacking play is coming through Tara Andrews. And you're probably right. They probably do need to be working the ball wider and finding the likes of Nikki Flannery and getting Nikki to run at Ali Green a lot more.
Well, but here we go, that interchange. And as we might have predicted earlier, it's Princess Abini that makes way for Veronica Latsko, the 24-year-old American on loan from the Houston Dash with Adelaide United last season. 9 goals in 12 games. What can she do in her debut in Sky Blue?
It'd be difficult for Newcastle to look over and seeing a quality player like Veronica Latsko coming on the field after you've already been under so much pressure.
Well, it was almost at the feet of Nicoletta Flannery. Couldn't find any help in a blue shirt, and it's Polias that Works it back up the pitch. And as far as Hannah Brewer. Copus Brown back to Davis. Oh, and that's lovely for Annabelle Martin. Going for the ball in the middle was Copus Brown again, which was well done. Flannery skips away, only temporarily. Intercepted by Teresa Police, and now it's Sophia Huerta. Oh, now we have Lauren Allen nipping in. Oh, nice work from Allen. Still on for the Newcastle Jets. Can they get a shot on goal? It rolls harmlessly away, and it's so disappointing after such a tenacious build-up.
It was a great little ball around the corner earlier from Nikki Flannery, the way that she was able to check back, and the understanding between her and Annabelle Martin was really good, and probably comes from Sydney University.
Kingston Hogg rather, makes her entry into the game for the Newcastle Jets, a second substitution from Craig Deans, and that is Jenna Kingsley that makes way. Page is, of course, another one of the talented youngsters, 19 years old. Promising young striker. Here is Veronica Latsko, her first touch in a Sydney FC shirt. Beautiful from Latsko, tries to cut back, denied by Davis. Shows you some of the intent that the American's going to be playing with.
Yeah, just with that run there, she's turned her defender, she's running at it. You wouldn't think that she's coming back from injury with the confidence to take on players like that and earn her side a corner.
Well, she'll be so pumped to be back out on the pitch. It's always frustrating, isn't it, for those players with knee injuries sitting out for so long, just itching to get back into the action. Plias up over the top. Kennedy was waiting. And it's Lauren Allen that nips in and grabs the ball on the far side. Allen's been busy since she came on. Now Lagazzo back for Sydney FC. Simpson looking for Latsko. Latsko gets it on her right foot, curls it round, goes just wide. Well, if that's any indication of what we can expect from Latsko after just a couple of minutes.
Yeah, this Sydney FC team doesn't look like they're tiring at all, and bringing on the likes of Veronica Latsko, she's fresh and she'll be ready to be getting in front of goal and wanting to get her first goal in the W League this season.
Sure will, standing on the goal line just in front of Quaylo. Way over the top and headed away by Annabelle Martin, pushed back in by Lagazzo. Ford runs over for the throw on the far side. Ford again. Still Caitlin Ford charging through the defenders, takes a tumble, no whistle from Rachel Mitchinson. Now Lagazzo. Oh, that kick takes a deflection as well. Now it is Nicoletta Flannery. Showing the speed that she displayed in a green shirt for Canberra United for 4 seasons. Finds Lauren Allen on the far side. Comes into the brick wall, it is Christodoulou. Tamplin.
You can tell with that play, Sydney FC are definitely wanting to go forward and score a lot more goals off the back of the corner. The defenders didn't drop too quickly and they wanted to stay in the mix to try and score, which left only 2 defenders back on halfway. And that's a really good opportunity for Newcastle to be able to counter-attack when the defence isn't set. But Sydney FC definitely showing their intent to want to go forward and score goals.
Let's take a quick look at what this result currently means to the ladder. Sydney FC up into 2nd spot behind Melbourne City, and Newcastle, it's the position unchanged at the moment. Huerta for Simpson. That's rolled beautifully through for Let's Go, who tumbles over the head of Claire Quaylo. Grasping the ball gratefully in. Just shut your eyes and hope there, wouldn't you?
Yeah, brave play there by Claire Quaylo. Sometimes I wonder if goalkeepers are a little bit crazy in the way that they dive at players' feet, but she's done really well there.
Simpson again is this time dispossessed by Cassidy Davis. Kingston Hogg. And his ball nipped in and stolen by Ellie Brush. She does so well now. Caitlin Ford on the far side. Caitlin Ford, still Ford. Oh, and it's headed away gratefully by Martin. That was a get out of jail for Newcastle, certainly.
Brilliant header there from Annabelle Martin. Able to get that one off the line. She's going backwards and able to get the header out. Sometimes we see those ones go in behind for an own goal, but she's done really well there because Claire Quaylo was beaten totally out of position.
20 minutes remaining here in Newcastle. Score remains at 2-0 to Sydney FC, and it's the third time this season we've said it's 2 goals to Remy Simpson in a match. Just feel that 20 minutes might mean there's time for 1 or 2 more. Newcastle will be hoping that it goes their way.
Yeah, Sydney FC still looking so dangerous going forward though. Newcastle are going to have to stay really focused for these last minutes to keep Sydney FC at bay because they're definitely going forward with a lot of intent.
Flannery to and fro, can't get any real power on her shot. Hands on knees as she bends over. They've had to work very hard defensively as well, of course, the Jets.
Yeah, and this is a really big pitch, so if you're not able to keep much of the possession, you really struggle because you're doing a lot of work off the ball defensively to keep a block and to move side to side and press.
Yeah, indeed, and I know Craig Deans is feeling as he's watching that. We see Lauren Allen charging down on the left flank. She doesn't have a huge amount of support, crosses it in though. Flattery is there, headed down by Brush, or Green rather. Allen again. Miller, Copus Brown. Small patient from Newcastle. Annabelle Martin. Still Martin, opts to go back to Cassidy Davis. Copus Brown. New players calling for the ball. Wheeler. And now it's Brewer that goes through. Brewer winds up, has a shot. Wow, it does force Bledsoe into a save. It's probably the first real damaging effort that Newcastle have had.
Yeah, and it comes from their centre-back. Great run forward there from Hannah Brewer, but great build-up there from Newcastle Jets, just being really patient in their build-up and happy to knock the ball around instead of trying to rush things going forward, which we did see in the first half. But seeing Hannah Brewer drive forward into the final third was really positive.
From Copus Brown, headed away by Alana Kennedy. Copus Brown again from the action and palmed over the top by Aubrey Bledsoe. Adam Peacock, have you seen any reaction from Craig Deans? They're coming very close here.
Yeah, it's better at the moment. He was getting really frustrated with their inability to hold on to possession as they went into that final third not that long ago, but he's a bit enthused by what's happening in the last couple of minutes. But Ellie Brush and Alana Kennedy today, they've been so good at the back for Sydney FC so far. And again, Kennedy with a towering header. They've been so organised, it's very, very difficult for the Jets, but a few chances starting to emerge.
Certainly are. Allen has her chance cleared away, goes as far as Puerto, and good to see Adam doesn't have the commentator's curse. He called the play and Alana Kennedy delivered on cue.
Two very experienced players there in the holding the centre-back role there for Sydney FC.
Experienced one here on the ball, the American. Let's go back to Polias, Huerta. And Caitlin Ford on the near side this time. Still Ford. Back for Lagazzo. Lagazzo feeds it through for Let's Go. Denied by Cassidy Davis. Will be a corner though for Sydney FC.
great switch of point there from Sydney FC. They're moving Newcastle side to side, and as I mentioned earlier, it's a really big pitch down here at McDonald Jones Stadium. So when an attacking team is able to move the ball side to side, it tires out the defence. And Sydney FC are really good at doing that through their midfield, who are very smart and experienced players.
And from Police, Lagazzo's header up over the crossbar, but we've seen Chloe do that before. I wouldn't surprise if that had ducked down underneath.
Good power on the ball in there from Teresa Polias, so Chloe just had to redirect it, but she got underneath the ball a little bit too much and put it over the crossbar, but not a bad effort.
Ante Juric preparing another change, going to bring on the young legs of Amy Sayer back in the squad for this week. Would you like to predict who you think is going to come off?
It's a tough one to call. Amy Sayer is an attacking midfield player. So it's going to, I'm likely thinking that it's going to be Huerta or Chloe Lagazzo. I think Chloe Lagazzo's probably had a bit of a quieter game today, done a lot of work defensively, so it might be her making way, but we'll find out very shortly.
And in fact, it is Remy Simpson. 2 goals is enough of a good day at the office, and she's going to head off. Simpson coming off the field, 2 goals today for the 3rd time in this W League season, and she'll be replaced by Amy Sayer.
Oh, you'd absolutely be fuming as a striker coming off with 2 goals, and your coach pulls you off with 10 minutes to go. You're still hoping for the hat-trick, so I'm sure she would not be happy with that one. But it's potentially Ante Juric wanting to have a look at seeing Veronica Latz go up in that number 9 position and seeing how the team works, and obviously seeing Amy Sayer back out there.
Indeed, well, first touch of the ball for the teenager. Always good for them to get that in early. She looks for Ford on the far side. It drops kindly for Caitlin Ford. Feeds it through for Sophia Huerta, tries to do the 1-2. Still there for Caitlin Ford. Oh, beautiful save from Claire Coelho. And she follows it up, clutching it in. Nice work from the young keeper.
Yeah, she's had a great game today, other than that one mistake for the 2nd goal. She's been really solid there for the Newcastle Jets and made some really important saves to try and keep them in the game. But another really good build-up there for Sydney FC. Another dangerous player for them to bring on in Amy Sayer. She's a young player with a lot of talent, technically really good, and can strike the ball from distance. As I said, technically really good, and a very dangerous addition here for the Sydney FC team.
It's actually a plethora of talented teenagers to look at this season, isn't there? Someone asked me during the week, who to keep an eye on, but the list is getting ever longer.
Yeah, there are some really good players coming through, and that comes off the back of all the development programs that we've seen lately, and the fruits of those coming through now. These players have been around at some really high-level trainings throughout their career already. So
Crossed in by Martin, who almost took a very awkward deflection off Teresa Polias' foot.
So we're finally seeing the fruits of those young players coming through, and it's really positive for football in Australia and the W League.
Certainly is. Penny Petratos, another one we're about to see on the pitch. Of course, making a name for herself away from the perhaps more well-known names in football circles of her brothers. Great to see her get some more minutes. Just 20 years old, Penny Petratos.
Spent some time at Sydney FC as well as a extended squad player at a time where we had a few injuries, but spent the season training, so she would know a lot of these girls, and another move to Newcastle to get more minutes. So it'll be interesting to see how she goes today.
Nicoletta Flannery says, thank you very much, that's it for me today. Makes her way to the bench. Probably didn't get quite the amount of involvement in the game she would have liked.
No, a lot of work done by her today, though, with the likes of Sydney FC and playing up against Ali Green. She had to do a lot of work defensively, so she's put in a good shift. Unfortunately, hasn't had a lot of the ball going forward, but has played a really important role for this Newcastle Jets side today.
That is the bench emptied for Craig Deans. It's good that he wants to see all his bench players get minutes. He's done that each week so far, and I think that'll hold them in good stead as the season rolls on, as we see Huerta falling around all over the ball. Eventually loses it. Oh my goodness, what a save from Aubrey Bledsoe. She's fingertipped over the bar. So dangerous, and what a fabulous shot.
Great strike there from Claire Wheeler. I spoke earlier about her technique, and she's shown it there. She's got so much power behind the ball, and has challenged Aubrey Bledsoe there, who hasn't seen a lot of the ball in this game. So challenging her ability to stay switched on, but great strike there from Claire Wheeler.
Yeah, I think Bledsoe might be grateful for the chance to get called into action like that, and she's just shown her class, as has Claire Coelho at the other end. Just that one error that she won't be putting that on her highlights reel, but it can happen to the best of them. Lovely Tobin just been for a stroll down the Sydney FC sideline. I was hoping to get the final few minutes. Now it is with Cassidy Davis for Newcastle.
You'd have to think that this might be a bit of a time waster. We have seen Newcastle Jets looking really dangerous going forward, so I'm sure Ante Uric won't want to concede this late in the game. So it's potentially chewing up a little bit of time and also keeping Nat Tobin in touch with the game.
Certainly, and I wonder if perhaps Kennedy in her first full match back, you might think she's seen enough minutes so far today. About 6 minutes remaining here in Newcastle. It's still Sydney FC 2 to the good. Kennedy, Ellie Brush. You can hear the instructions being shouted from the Newcastle bench. Deans is determined that they won't drop their intensity in these final minutes.
Great little run forward there from Chloe Lagazzo.
Nicely held up by Ford. Showing her experience there. Christodoulou, responsible for many a clever cross already this season for Sydney FC. Good, high and wide, or low and wide rather, there for the substitute Amy Sayer. But why not?
Why not when your team's 2-0 up? You're coming off, I think she's been injured for quite a while and coming back into the side, so she wants to wind up and have a bit of a go, and I don't mind that. I know that she's got the ability to strike it from there. She didn't make the contact that she would have liked to, but I think it definitely doesn't hurt to have a strike like that.
I think Ante Uric might be the happier of the two coaches. As we mentioned before, this puts Sydney FC up into second place, assuming that those positions don't change in the next 3 or 4 minutes. What do you make of this this Sydney side? You'd have to think that they'll be challenging once more for the title.
Oh, definitely. They're looking really sharp. Their build-up play
And here the build-up play comes again, just as you mentioned it. Caitlin Ford charging forward. She has Chloe Lagazzo. Oh, Chloe. She'll be so disappointed with that.
Yeah, she'll want that one again. It's a brilliant ball in there from Caitlin Ford. Put Chloe in a lot of space, and Chloe had the right idea to curl it into the back post there, but she's definitely dug it out underneath the ball and put it over the top.
Well, Natalie Tobin is going to make her way onto the pitch for the final few minutes. It's Teresa Plias that Juric brings off. Look at that pass accuracy, 87% from Plias. She is just such a midfield machine. And really, well, the general for this Sydney side.
Such an experienced player, and another great performance from her tonight, just controlling that midfield.
Lagazzo maybe wants another crack, lays it off for Latsko. Veronica Latsko! Oh, side-footed by Amy Sayer. Sydney FC certainly taking their chances. They're not leaving anything to chance.
Absolutely not. They're going forward and they're wanting more goals. Great little play here. Chloe Lagazzo with the reverse ball. Veronica Latsko with a great overlapping run and then able to whip the ball in. Amy Sayer makes good contact. She's in a good position, but unable to get around the ball enough to put it on target.
Now Tessa Tamplin. It's a quick pass away for Tara Andrews. Oh, nice intervention by Ellie Brush. Back with Tamplin. Looking for help. Finds Andrews, who turns. Still Andrews. Lauren Allen. Once again wide of the goal. I can't say Newcastle are giving up by any means.
No, and they're actually throwing a lot of numbers forward at the moment, which is good. You're better off chasing the game and trying to get something out of it than sitting back and absorbing more pressure from Sydney FC.
And they'd love to get something out of this match heading into the bye next week. As we know, each side has 2 bye rounds in the W League season, and Sydney FC, of course, have the Sydney Derby, and that is a mouth-watering clash. That is probably the first season we can honestly say that this is going to be a true contest.
Very exciting game coming up next weekend. Western Sydney Wanderers looking so good this season. They've made some really good signings, brought over a lot of really good internationals. So it's going to be a tight contest and one that's definitely worth watching.
I feel like it's going to be a battle of the Americans when it comes down to it, and all their Australian counterparts that have played with them at their clubs. They all know each other so well. It should be a huge clash.
Yeah, just between the W League and the NWSL, players get a lot of chances to play with and against each other.
Sure do. Sayer manages to flick it through for Latsko, cuts it back for Huerta, gets in the way. Lagazzo bum, can't make it count. Chloe Lagazzo is going to be wondering what she has to do to get a goal today.
Yeah, she's been really good in this last 15 minutes after I said she's had a quiet game. She's definitely getting in a lot of really good positions. Being on that, sitting in that left wing position, she's allowed to go forward a lot more. In the first half, she was playing a lot more defensively in that midfield, and now seeing her go forward, we can see how dangerous she is.
Under a minute remaining of regulation time here in Newcastle. I'd have to say fairly convincingly that the points are going home with Sydney FC as they travel back down the M1. Newcastle have put in a wonderful shift. Lagazzo again with a neat side foot through to Latsko. Those two combining beautiful. Latsko somewhat theatrical on the far side.
That was a bit theatrical, but yeah, oh well. The ref knew that it was and didn't call anything up for it.
Oh, Lagazzo stolen the ball, could be on. Quaylo leaping in to put a halt to the danger. She has literally been busy from the first to the last minute, Claire Quaylo.
Yeah, and you would have expected that going into this game, but definitely had a really good game today, other than that one error, which unfortunately will probably haunt her for a little while. But hats off to her. She's saved her team from probably a lot more of an embarrassing score, because Sydney FC have been going at them for 90 minutes.
It's been good entertainment for the 2,500 or so fans here in Newcastle. one of the double headers, so plenty of action for those in the crowd today. Christodoulou tries to find the head of Werter there for Let's Go, and the American has a goal on debut, or does she? I think it's been ruled out for offside. How disappointing for Let's Go. That was beautiful combination play.
And a brilliant finish there on her left foot. She's just guided it back across goal. Just marginally offside, but it was almost a really nice welcome back to the W League for Veronica Latsko.
Nice way to start life in a sky blue shirt too. Wasn't to be. However, it won't make too much difference to the 3 points.
I'm sure it's not going to be the last time we see Veronica Latsko put the ball in the back of the net this season.
I think you're fairly safe in saying that. However, can Newcastle perhaps pull one back in the dying minutes? Given a throw over to Sydney FC, so Werter can't make contact. Looking Andrews. On for Newcastle now, looking for options. Wheeler through to Brewer. Brewer winds up, gives it a great crack with Alana Kennedy in the way. Now Tamplin on the far side. Good work from Christodoulou, but now it's Wheeler. Claire Wheeler. Still Wheeler, eventually dispossessed by Sayer. Great work from Amy Sayer.
Yeah, she's been really good since she's come on, both defensively and in attack. Amy Sayers, another quality player for this Sydney FC side, and another headache for coach Ante Uric. He's definitely got a lot of quality players to be choosing from for the rest of the season.
I think any coach would be happy to have those sorts of headaches. And that Rachel Mitchinson says is enough here in Newcastle. Well, it was really end-to-end action in that second half. We saw a chance from Hannah Brewer for Newcastle. Claire Wheeler had a go. Alana Kennedy's free kick was tipped over by Coelho. So plenty of chances, but it was the second goal from Remy Simpson on the 50-minute mark that made the difference here in Newcastle. And at full time, it was Newcastle 0, Sydney FC 2. Well, Newcastle shouldn't be too disappointed with that effort. As we said, it's been a wonderful learning experience for this young squad of Craig Deans, and they can be proud. There's going to come a time when they need to stop being proud but and get the results. But for now, a job well done. But it was a super job from Remy Simpson today, and she's with Adam Peacock.
Thank you, Steph. Yeah, Remy Simpson was just telling me she got a bit of an elbow to the face. It's away from the camera this time, so you don't have to worry about it too much. Well done on the performance. We'll get to the 2 goals in a moment, but overall, team performance, brilliant way to bounce back after last week.
Definitely. I mean, we knew how important this game was. Ante put an emphasis on it this week that we wanted to get the 3 points, get our confidence back, obviously coming off the loss last week against Melbourne City. So we're really happy to take the 3 points today. What was the differences in the performance and being allowed to create the amount of chances that you did? I think we just relaxed and played our game, and I think last week we played a bit more panicked, and we came back to the basics. We went back to the drawing board last week, and I think that we just executed our chances. We could have scored a few more, I think, but we're really happy with the performance today and hoping to continue that into next week's game. And you got 2 yourself, because there's the added pressure now. You've got one of the best strikers in the league sitting on the bench. She's coming back from an ACL, and obviously you both got out there for a time as well, and Veronica Latsko. But your performance today, how would you rate that and your self-assessment overall? I was extremely happy to get back on the score sheet and finish my chances today. I think I could have got a few more, but that's okay. I'll take the 2. But I think I'm just more happy for V to be back. And, she's worked extremely hard to get back, and she made such an impact when she came on. So I'm really looking forward to continuing to work with her this season. Let you go over there. Your coach is over there. You can have a go at him for dragging you off when you're on 2 goals on the hat-trick. But well done today, Remy. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Thanks. Libby Copas-Brown's going to join us as well. Not your day today, unfortunately. What do you reckon held you back against a very good Sydney side?
Look, I think they've got the players that are going to take their chances, and we gave them too many chances, and we just need to be clinical for next week. Overall, how is it going with this club? Because it's a tight group. I mean,